Hey, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Target Practice Podcast. This is the podcast if you want to make more target premium by growing your practice. It's Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. Bobby, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Excited for this one.
This podcast has video and audio. So if you want to see the video, you can go to the YouTube channel, targetpractice.com, and find that. Now, we did an episode, kind of the introductory episode was long. It was, 30 minutes long. That's kind of the way we are. Talk, give as much
Who
as
we
you can.
are.
But this is really episode number one. And we're going to talk about the first of the three different categories that we're kind of using to choose what the three categories of building a giant practice, which is marketing, sales, and then kind of customer service, client retention, or kind of what happens after in our world after they say yes to signing paperwork. So there's that underwriting process. And then when they are a client, how do you take care of them, not lose them, keep them happy, get referrals, get future business? But it all starts with marketing, baby. This is where it starts, So before we get into what marketing is, I want to talk about my experience, just so you know that I'm not making this up. I'm not guessing at what marketing is. I started in 2005 with newspaper advertisements, filling a room for live seminars. I think without food at first. We certainly did dinner seminars, but there's seminars. I've done dinner seminars, tons of those. I've done buying leads where you really just buy people who've raised their hand and said they're interested in either annuities or life insurance. I did the newspaper ads. I have done TV in Hawaii. You can go to charlieontv.com and actually see those episodes where you can pay to play on a lot of television stations. You can actually pay to be the man or woman who looks like the expert on the morning show. And they ask you questions about retirement and you get to talk about it. It's awesome. Not cheap, just awesome. Like a Tesla, like a Rolls Royce. Not cheap, like your private jet. It's not cheap. It's just awesome, right? Radio shows are amazing. Some of the IMOs even have entire departments devoted to helping you as an insurance agent build a radio show or pay them to be a part of theirs. It's pretty awesome. Obviously, podcasts, my Renovating Retirement podcast takes care of our families very nicely from the people that listen casually and sell themselves on whether or not they'd like to receive information from us. Preset appointments. I don't actually like leads that much. Like, hey, here's a bunch of people that you can call and chase. It's important. How does anything else work? If you want to have the abs, you do the sit-ups, and you can break that down and say, I want to do 100 sit-ups a day. And you can break it down into 10 different times, or 33 and a half, 3 different times, or 50 sit-ups twice. I have right here in front of me. You can't read it because of the blur, but I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Spanish applications out of the 20 I'm using to learn Spanish. And what do I want to accomplish in the next 6 weeks? And what needs to happen by the end of every week for 6 weeks in all 7 of them. That's chunking down. The problem in the insurance industry is, what's the minimum movement? What's the sit-up? What's the next lesson in Spanish? Well, leads can be that. Calls, right? We've seen systems where it's like make 20 to 30 calls a day, measure who answers. Those responses back in the day where people did cold calls, that was easier to measure. I made 30 cold calls. Today, who do you call? Well, it could be reach outs on LinkedIn, reach outs on Facebook, it could be some sort of a outgoing something, right? Most people don't like cold calls, but preset appointments, the reason I gave that introduction is I truly do enjoy, if you're good at sales, you like this, I truly do enjoy when someone else sets the appointment, they either show up or they don't. My job, take the phone call, show up on the Zoom, sit in the office, wait to see if they show up or not. When someone is presented and I get to do my job, I like that better than chasing people. Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does.
So referral marketing and coaching, I've done Joe Stumpf. I've done Brian Buffini, which are both kind of back in the real estate days when I was a real estate agent and a mortgage, and I was a loan officer. I learned about those guys. There's some people that do this in the insurance world as well. There's one person, I actually can't remember his name, that I did his program. Then there's also Dan Allison, who does feedback marketing and focus groups. I think his systems are incredible. I don't get paid to say that. I think Dan's stuff is genius for feedback marketing and focus groups. Very inexpensive way to use time in a very effective way to build your practice. Dan says you could drop him in any city, and within a year, he'd be making six figures from strangers by just asking people, saying to people, hey, I want to be the best financial advisor in the entire city. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. What are your thoughts? What could I do better? People get exposed to what you're doing, and only one of two things can happen. They tell you what you need to change to make people buy, or they go, oh my gosh, I like this vacuum. Can I have one? Like he learned from focus groups in the industries that he was a part of. But very common for product manufacturers to have focus groups in the old days with housewives, today with anybody. Say, what do you think of our product? And as people experience it, they go, where can I get one? Or I'd never use it because I don't like this feature. And they literally, your potential customer tells you what you need to change to buy it. Genius, totally genius. It's just sort of an advanced referral marketing technique. Strategic partnerships. I hate them, but that's probably a character flaw. I don't like strategic partnerships. I'm the beta fish that does not play nice with other advisors because I know more than them, and I am annoyed that they're wrong and they're not kind when they learn that I'm right. I don't like that they're also a beta fish, right? So I'm not a guy that does strategic partnerships and finds a bunch of CPAs and attorneys and other people to send business. If you're relational, if you're a connector, highly social, you're that golden retriever or whatever. And we might talk about Colby's, even though I used a different reference. But if you're that happy-go-lucky, just want to have a lot of realtors are social butterflies that get paid to interact with people. They've found an industry where you can just see lots of people and be out and about.
Professional networkers.
Professional network. That's like, I'm not a networker. You know me pretty well. Right? I'm a very skilled individual, but not at that, because I don't want that.
I'm the guy you send for that.
I send you for that. When I'm in line at the bank, I don't want your phone number. I want you to shut up and hurry up and get out of my way so I can get my transaction done and go home and study something and make a podcast. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want your phone number. I have friends, and I actually think it is a better skill set for this industry to be the social butterfly, or to want that person's interest, that person's phone number, to not want to be left alone in public, but to want to connect. I think is actually better. So strategic partnerships. I mean, I know people that make an extra $1 million a year just because they partner with loan officers on some of our home equity planning strategies, an extra $1 million. Then you have team building, which is unique and very difficult to find a model that has the team building and is doing an incredible job on case design, and basically is a good financial planning institution or a good retirement planning institution and has the team building. But we'll just talk in theory for now. And we do know of one or two great companies. But in the theory of it is you can build teams, or even teams that build teams, and have it, grow and grow and grow, where every individual, as they're learning from you, is bringing clients, right? And you can be teaching them to market to their warm market or to their. Does it work? Absolutely. I know people making $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 a year, having a team of people that bring them cases. This is particularly attractive. Just so I can make a note, because I have done this and realize the parts I liked and don't like. This is very attractive if you want tons of client meetings, meaning if you want to be in that sales seat, Bobby, on Zoom or sitting in the office or whatever it is, you want to sit there and meet client after client after client after client and get them to say yes, take apps or give it to another team or hire a company like we do to take the apps. You know what I mean? Yeah. That is the dream for that person. If you're me,
and if that fits that person, that is the dream. And everybody new to the industry thinks that's wonderful. People that are more experienced and more successful, like you, maybe have graduated out of that. And there, but everything, I won't hit this, but that does work as long as people like to have that role. And there's pros and cons to everything.
Exactly. And so in that world, and that is most people, I believe. What I'm looking for in my world is to do all of the marketing and hand it to amazing salespeople, which is why we do what we do: recruit, train, and have all of our. How do we turn someone into an incredible closer and give them a system and blah blah and feed them leads? But for most people, when they look at their schedule, it's not 40 hours of meeting clients, so they have downtime. The seats of the restaurant aren't full. You're not at full capacity. What do we call that? I believe it's called big C, little O, like big capability, little opportunity. You want to flip that around, right? Yep. You barely have the capability to keep up with all the opportunity and all the leads. That's better, right? But honestly, most independent service professionals, like a loan officer, realtor, salesperson, insurance salesperson, insurance agent are going to have more hours in the week that could be, money making hours that aren't full. Having people fill those slots with ready clients is awesome, right?
Yep.
I'm going to make a point here. Everything works. This is really important because if you go online and say, do dinner seminars still work? Is buying leads good? It's like when your clients go, are annuities good? And they just hear everybody who's ever been angry about an annuity. You're going to hear, if you do any of those searches, you're going to hear from all of the agents who were not skilled enough in their sales process to make a profit tell you what doesn't work.
Yep.
On the other side, since in 2005, I started with the merit planning process, mortgage plan, estate plan, retirement plan, insurance plan, and tax plan, which we'll talk about in the sales episode, the next episode. Being different, looking different, and letting the client choose, or the prospective client choose, that you'd be a better choice. Looking different and looking better and being the Michael Jordan of what you do, just being incredible, a badass, right? At sales, it doesn't matter why they showed up. I mean, dinner seminars, half the people, if and I might be being generous, half the people in dinner seminar have their arms folded, their hearts are closed, their minds, there you go, thank you. Bobby's giving a visual for those of you listening on the podcast. He did a very good imitation of a grumpy old man sitting in a dinner seminar, ready to eat steak on your dime, right? So they're sitting there. There's books on being a plate licker, on how to live for free off of financial advisors. They're showing up without any intention, most of them, and buying from you. And I loved that. I would show up like, watch this, watch what I'm about to do. Just like Michael Jordan sticking his tongue out while he steps on your face and dunks over you. That was the way I approached it. When your sales process is that good, or your message is powerful, you've honed it. By the way, you've got to be in the industry you should be in. Some people discover they shouldn't be in sales and they go to another part of this industry. Well, let me work in the underwriting department. Let me work in marketing. Let me work in customer service, and bringing back a sale from somebody where there's already trust. Cause that's a pastoral ministry. That's a caring for, not a persuading part of the business. Right. But
and that's actually, as we've grown our business and as you've grown yours and we're growing ours together, people that are doing that and are in that choke point right now, because that is a choke point if you don't do it right. Going through and doing different personality tests to find out where someone will be most appropriate. Now we'll cover this as we talk through the other episodes, but that's very key to scaling your business rapidly. So that's something we're gonna dig into in further episodes, but that's something to think about. If you are better suited for something else, how do you grow around yourself? And that's something we'll dig into.
Right. I think, my personal opinion, most people are going to run a business that's just them, and that is absolutely fine. And then if you look at the really big, ridiculously successful IMOs, they basically teach, you get to a certain size and then you hire your assistant, and then you get to a larger size and you might start hiring junior agents and using the Rainmaker model. All that's in the future, unless you're starting there right now. Can you run a business where you do the marketing, you do the sales, you do the paperwork, and you do the customer service? The answer is yes, you can make a ton of money. The reality, and I just want people to hear this, there's no way you're as good at all of those pieces of the business as you are at the other ones. Something is suffering.
Yeah.
And the client is not getting everything that they deserve. What have we learned from the housing industry and from the industry of manufacturing of vehicles? It is not best for anyone, for one person to build a car from scratch and do all parts of it. It is not best to hire I don't even know what to call them, like a person, a carpenter. I don't know what we call the person, but to one person that comes and builds the foundation, but lays the foundation by themselves, then does the framing, there's an assembly line process where people work specifically on what they're good at, right? There's trades in the building industry. Is a financial plan a large process, a big process with multiple parts? Yeah. And guess what? You don't even control all the parts. You're dealing with big companies that don't care about your client, like insurance companies, right?
And
or the big company.
Skill sets are very different. The skill sets are very different.
So as you grow, let's say the very first move, you get to the point where let's say you don't want to do your own marketing. You pay somebody to do your marketing, you do the sales, right? You don't want to do your own scheduling or paperwork. You have an assistant, or you hire a company that takes that all off your plate. You don't want to do your underwriting. You don't want to do your working of your existing database. Joe Stumpf would call this the before, during, and after. After the sale, there should be a 20% yield. So every 100 clients should turn into another 20 deals next year. Every year you're in business should get easier. If you get 100 clients a year for 5 years, First year, there are 100 clients. You're not going to get that many referrals. Maybe, 5 of them come from referral, but let's say it's 100, that you just have to go out and find. Next year to get 100, there should be 20 from that first group. By the end of year 2, you have 200 clients already. There should be 40 in that third year, and you only have to find 60. 5 years into a business, you frankly should be able to put it on autopilot and retire and get 100 a year just from referrals from that database of 500. But guess what? Not if you either suck at the after unit or just are too busy to do it, because guess what? You're out trying to find 100 clients. Now, you don't need 100 clients. If you do bigger case, I did 12 clients my first year and made $450,000 my first year as a rookie. It was only 12 families, but I focus on big, giant, comprehensive cases for the non-wealthy. I could work with wealthy families. Normal folks is that's who I found in my early years. Now, you're from a different industry. I'm going on 18 years here. You're at 1 year, 18 months. 18 years and 18 months, buddy. What do you think of that? That's kind of cool.
There you go.
Right?
I like it.
18 years, 18 months. So where did you come from? Military, corporate, everything. What was marketing? What do you think, before we get into like a definition of marketing, what do you think marketing was in the industries that you've been in?
It's a good question. So for those of you watching the video, by the way, I want to throw this out. Charlie had done so many things that I made him make a list of all the things so he could bring it up for here. So he was reading. I know you saw him reading because I was laughing. He has been successful at every one of them. And some of the things that he's done that I've learned from him, it's been awesome because it's something I didn't even know was a concept. For instance, being on TV, pay to play on TV, I didn't know that was a thing. I thought you had to do a commercial for that.
I even did experiments. I would experiment. I did cruises. I said, what would happen if I took families on cruises and I paid the entire thing and I had 5 days with them instead of meeting once a week for 4 weeks to get through the 4 meetings?
Yeah.
What if I had all the time, all the people, all the paperwork, everything that was needed in one place? And guess what? I did 3 of those and they all worked as well.
And it does. It comes down, it will work if you can work it, right? But also, if you have the soft skills or sales skills, like sales cures all is the running joke in every industry, but it's true. And if you have sales skills, you can turn a turd of an appointment into a golden goose, right? Because that person who's sitting there with their arms crossed at dinner seminar and is pissed off, they want you to hurry up so they can have their steak, right? That person, if you open them up and get them to uncross their arms and have a dialogue, and you start hitting on those, like you said, Michael Jordan is coming in and really delivering, that changes every sort of interaction you have. If you have the skills to do that. Now, what we're going to talk about is how each one of them, as we unpack it in this podcast, how each one of them can be applied if you have different skill sets, right? We've talked about in our conversations, and that's what this podcast is all about. If you're an amazing marketer, but you don't like the other stuff, that can be a problem. If you're an amazing other stuff, soft skills, pull referrals out, build, get in one spot and spider web through their whole lives and everything else, that's a great skill. But if you don't have leads to start that off with, then you're screwed. You need both, and you don't have to be an expert at both. If you can hire out, and through all the lists that we just went through, if you can hire out to some of those weaknesses, and you can double down where you're good, you can make a killing in this business.
Right.
So I say all that just to back up, because I thought it was funny as you and I are reading and we're on video, and I'm making you be on video for the first time, and I love it.
You can see my eyes going over here.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you're working my database of existing clients, making sure they're well taken care of and have everything they need. You're saying you're finding a bunch of golden shellac turds in there, right? What do you call that product? The Midas touch was anything turns to gold. What do you call specifically just turd leads that turn into gold? What touch is that?
Ooh, you know what? I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that.
We're going to have to come up with a special name for that, right?
Yeah. And so the
merit touch.
The merit touch. I do like that. And a lot of people find us after the other advisors have failed them. Right. And so it is kind of the merit touch, like to pull that apart, because when they come to us, it's different. We have a different presentation. Back to what you said, like the riches are in the niches. If you are different and you speak directly to the right person, it's a game changer. If this person says, put all your money in the stock market and do this and pay off your home, and Dave Ramsey over and over and over, right? The idea is that when you speak to someone differently, you set yourself apart. That's the language of this business. That's mostly what I've learned from you. And that's where what I learned in the military and what I learned in corporate America are dramatically different. Now, there's success and there are sales in the military. Just believe it or not, there's sales in the military. We call it recruiting, and there's sales in corporate America for everything. And the corporate America quote, like I work for a Fortune 50 company. I was moving around doing a lot of things around the country. The idea is that marketing is the price you pay for being unremarkable. I don't know who actually said that, but it seems to have stuck. And does Nike have to pay for additional marketing, or can they brand recognition carry them? Well, in a corporate world, I can say that marketing, you need to get your brand out there. In an entrepreneurial world, I would disagree with that. I think marketing is the lifeblood of a business. It's not what you pay to, it's not because you're unremarkable. It's because you have to create that flywheel in order to have the chance to sell something.
In the Joe Stumpf program that I took a long time ago, the buyreferralonly.com. And I don't know what he's doing today. I haven't checked in a long time, but he used to have Dean Jackson, who's a very well-known marketer, come on and say, if you're a big giant company like Coca-Cola, the entire idea of branding is to get your name out there. When they're in the store and they're about to order, you want them to see a sign, or you want them to see it on the blimp and go, I want a Coke, whatever, right? When you're a small independent service agent, entrepreneur, service business entrepreneur, the key is to get their name in here. You want direct response marketing. Now, I'm at the transition point with the brand of Renovating Retirement where I am doing both of those, right? So I do want the name out there so that I can get their names into your guys' world, the people that are on our team that we work with. But for most of the people listening, what you're talking about is getting names of individuals that may need your help into your world, which is not branding.
Right. No, it's not. You're not creating a brand. Now, I advise every advisor, every agent out there to create a brand. If they're a captive agent, it's a little different, right? But everybody should have, Joe Smith's agency or something that you can hang your hat on and say, this is mine. And when I speak, this is what I'm speaking for, right? I think that that's the best. We tell that to people on our team all the time. Like, we want to grow and build everything around you. But in the event that we're not here, you've still got to have a company. We're going to teach you how to run your business as a business, right? And that's what we do with our guys all the time. The difference with corporate America, like you said, Coca-Cola or anything else, is that they have brand recognition. They already have market share because they've been doing that for a while. But there's also a point of sale difference, right? If you are looking for a Coca-Cola, you'll walk into a convenience store. Nobody walks into the financial planning store, right? And if you walk into a name brand, you've already been sold on that brand, and you're walking in there to get whatever they offer because you trust that brand. That's where us scrappy entrepreneurs have to make a name for ourselves. And that's where I think it's niches, right? I work with business owners. I specialize in business exits and putting them in the best position for themselves. You have created an entire curriculum for agents and building and ways to look at investments over your 18 years. And that has differentiated you to no end. 5 years of a podcast, people educate themselves and they're like, listen. Oh, you know what? I'd hate this guy. I'm never going to listen to him again. Okay. They won't get on your calendar. Or they listen. They said, this guy's genius. He speaks directly to me. I need to call up and get on Bobby's calendar. And basically I'm an order taker once they have listened to you and they've been educated by you at their own pace. Not everybody else does that. Not everybody else has a podcast. And that's some of the things that we're going to talk about on here. If you want to create a podcast, we'll talk about that.
And we've talked about that in the marketing. Is like, you should outsource the part you don't like, right? If you're good at marketing, but you can prove that you're an incredible salesperson. Like if you go to Push-Ups Incorporated and say, I want a job doing push-ups, what's the interview? Do some push-ups.
Some push-ups.
Let's do some push-ups part-time, 4 hours a day of push-ups. Do you really like this? Okay, let's go 8 hours, right? You go through.
Yeah.
So the way that we, recruit or work with salespeople that think they're incredible is like sell, right? Show us you can sell. But we've sort of developed this theory and program over time that a lead is really somebody who's decided they don't want the market, moved all the money out, put it into the bank or credit union, and is sitting there waiting for a plan to be built. That's how you outsource your marketing. There's a lot of ways to do it, but one of the most aggressive ways, or my favorite ways right now, is if you're not good at marketing, outsource that, pay someone else to do that, and start the process after the client has already been through their divorce. They're like, I left that horrible spouse and now I'm in the market, baby. Let's go dating, right? The money has been moved. The decision to buy is not when they sign applications. It's when they move the money and fire the other advisor, and they make a decision. That's the retainer. That's the time they make this. So I'm just bringing this up as an example of one of the types of people that, well, I mean, I like the marketing. I actually like to just do one of them. I can do the sales piece if if I just do preset appointments, or I can do the market. I don't know why I don't like to do both of them, but it doesn't matter, right? And I'm not doing much of the sales.
And just to clarify, the lead portion that you just described, that is what we call a lead. That is not what the industry calls a lead.
Exactly.
The industry calls a lead someone who, and this is not, like you said a minute ago, all of them work, right? But just to make the terminology clear, a lead for the industry is someone who clicked a button, said, I'm interested, someone who raised their hand, put their name somewhere, and they bundle those leads up and sell those out, right? Those still work. You can buy those all day long and hustle and make it work, but that's not what you and I consider a lead. For us, that's marketing. If it's still a cold person, like they know they want life insurance, they just don't know anything about it, that to me is just someone who's raised their hand for more information. And we differentiate that they haven't made a decision yet. That's not a lead yet. Right. That's someone who's still being marketed to. So just to clarify, that we differentiate a lead as someone who's made a move or is currently making a move before they come onto our sales side.
Right. And that's only from 18 years of seeing that, like, wait a minute here. They're actually not, there's case design is for cases.
Right.
That's our philosophy. But most people, and this is not right or wrong, most people are going to do case design as part of trying to win the client and then hope they say yes, then do paperwork, and then hope they move the money, which is a brutal process in the insurance industry unless you have some tricks.
And what do we always say? That this hobby is more fun when you get paid?
This hobby is so much more fun when you get paid.
That's it, because you're practicing a hobby, you're doing case design, you're hoping. And by the way, from a sales point of view, now I can talk about sales and sales teams all day long because of corporate America and everything I've done over there. But from a sales point of view, you've lost all control of that interaction. Like you have done all the work and you're hoping that they say, you know what, thanks, I like that, I'm going to do it with you.
Right.
Because at that point, you've done all the heavy lifting with the hopes that they pull the trigger because it was a lead when it came in. Right. And I did quotes for you people listening, that it's not a lead. For us, they have already decided to make the move, and that's a lead. And so I just wanted to hammer that home. We differentiate that dramatically from the industry, but only through trial and error, right? We've all done the other stuff.
Exactly. Well, in the corporate world, in the military world, in this world of small businesses, independent service industry professionals, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's my opinion of what I'm looking back at my list. You told me my eyes are going over what else. In the marketing world, I think marketing is getting them to look or respond or ask or react. In the farming industry, we used to call it broadcasting, right? I think that probably, or in the radio industry called broadcast, it probably comes from farming, where you like throw seeds out, right? Is that where that comes from? Or casting your net wide as a fisherman. Who knows? I haven't done what's that study of words called? I haven't back studied the word broadcasting, but the idea is starting a conversation. Why don't we just say it that way? Right. Whether it's get them to walk into your store. I live near Mexico. You're trying to come back from the border, and some poor child with one leg is offering chicle gum, at your window, get you to roll the window down and start the conversation, right? Online advertising, click on the banner, whatever it is, TV, make the phone call, remember infomercials? There were, Tony Robbins built his business on infomercials. It was like, get people to call the 800 number, right? To get whatevs, right? It is always about starting a conversation. And let's use the industry terminology. Now that's a lead. Mm-hmm. Hey, you can talk to me. You can sell to me. You can send me things. Maybe they're signing up for a newsletter or some sort of a drip campaign that you've built or whatever. But it's basically permission marketing. If you look at Seth Godin's book, Permission Marketing, you can now talk to me. It's a little crack in the door. Like I gave you phone number, the girl at the bar, the boy at the bar, right? Boy, it sounds creepy. The man at the bar or the girl at the bar that you ask for their number, they give you their number, right? You may reach out. It doesn't mean I'm going to respond. That's not a sale. It means I gave you the tiniest little bit of permission and you can market to me. You can send me a text. You can call me, whatever, right? So that's marketing. There's a million different ways to do that. There isn't right or wrong. I do think you can play golf full-time, fly first class on airplanes full-time. I have no joke at all. I went to Hawaii every month for almost 10 years and negotiated that because when you go to Hawaii, you have to fill out this stupid piece of paper. Everybody has to fill one out and they don't have pens. I negotiated with Hawaiian Airlines to give my pens to everybody as a gift with my company name on them if I brought pens. And they said, by the way, Charlie from Renovating Retirement is providing the pens because he's flown so much that's difficult. He wants to solve that problem for you. He can solve a lot of other problems. I've talked to airlines about being able to stand up on flights and speak over the loudspeakers if I paid for everybody's seat. Marketing is not, it's never a matter of resources. It's always a matter of resourcefulness, Tony Robbins says. You can't do it if you don't ask. Right? It's whatever you can think of and get someone to say yes to. What's your house worth? What you can get somebody to pay. That's what it's worth. If you're using the mortgage, the company's going to decide. The lender's going to decide what it's worth. If you're going private, tell them to pay you $5 million for that shack and they give it to you. You're done, baby. You're good. Get the cat. So starting a conversation. Now, the history of marketing, in my opinion, it used to literally probably be, and we have this expression, hang up your shingle or hang up a sign, or like people, this is probably back in the day when at horse and buggies or they're walking or whatever, and you have to go through a town just to get some water because they had the well or the other watering hole, the bar, with that weird sounding piano that we don't have anymore. Why do pianos sound different in all the Westerns? It's like, sounds like a car. I don't know what it sounds like. Just weird, more twangy, right?
Yeah.
So they only had treble. I don't know what's going on there. So they, the sound I'm talking about, right? Yep. You could just picture the girls in the dresses. I don't know what that is. But that town, if you want someone to know that you sell saddles, right? You hang up your sign, whatever that is called, saddle maker or whatever. Like, we have saddles, baby. The sign was the advertising, because without the sign, it's just a building and nobody knows I need a saddle. By the way, marketing has never changed. Someone who needs a saddle, therefore it's on their mind. It's in their, what do they call that part even?
Reticular
activator. So they're thinking about saddles because they're like, darn it all, my saddle broke like 10 miles ago and my butt hurts, right? I'm tired of sitting on this bony horse that I can't feed, right? This spine is killing my tail. Your spine and my spine aren't getting along, horsey, right? Need a saddle, need a butt sponge or whatever, right? So whatever you call that, a butt cushion. Sponge is different, different podcast. So you go into town, you're thinking about saddles, I need one. And you see a sign. A saddle maker or a saddle store, whatever you call it. Saddles Are Us. You're like, wait, saddles are us with a backward R in the 1600s. That's perfect. It's spelled wrong. That makes me want to go in even more, even though Toys R Us went out of business. Terrible example, right? Because Saddles Are Us. Marketing has never changed.
No.
Something they're thinking about, pain or pleasure, and then they see a chance to relieve the pain or satisfy the craving, get the pleasure, and they go, oh, maybe. The only difference today is there's like 700 stores that say we make saddles in every town, and 700 of all the other stores. And it's not limited anymore because the internet is infinite. So it's not even, we don't have the limitations of structure, physical structure, and the size of the town and where your eyes can
geography. Yeah, you don't have that anymore.
It's an endless matrix or whatever, like whatever cool words I can sound like I'm young, right? It's this endless thing of infiniteness, right? That means you've got to either niche down to a group that isn't being marketed to like that, right? So where there's this small group that no one's marketing to, and you're the only sign they see, right? Mm-hmm. That's very possible, by the way, very possible. Or have a bigger sign, a brighter sign, a more frequent sign, something different, right? Have the same sign, so you're getting the same leads as your competitors, but win more of them. Again, having a better sales process. But think about what this used to be. What did it develop into over time? Sure, there's some steps in between, but cold calling in the sales industry, you look at movies like Boiler Room and whatever those other ones are, the Glengarry Glen Ross leads, baby, right?
Yeah.
Always be closing. Sales has a bit of a dark history in a sense, just because today we see that as so offensive, and it is. But back in the day, cold calling really was the sit-up. Like, I want the abs. How many sit-ups do I need to do? If I do them, I do get the results. I don't want to do them. But if I just measure, and we know groups of people still kind of trying to do this, like you have your pizza party, all the salespeople get together and try to make like lessen the pain. They're like, well,
Yep.
let's suffer. Let me watch you suffer while I suffer. And somehow that weird dopamine or whatever you get from socializing makes the suffering less, right?
In the Navy, we called that conservation of happiness.
Oh, really?
You neither happiness can neither be created nor destroyed. So if I want to be happy, I have to steal your happiness. And that was the running gag. And that to me is what the financial services business is now. Like, we say this all the time. The reason there's a 90% failure rate in this business is because it's freaking hard. And the reason it's so hard is because nobody's having dialogue like we are. Nobody's saying, hey, look behind the curtain. You go to the big box stores, right? And you get your license, you sit down, and literally your first 2 years is calling numbers. And if you survive that, then you can have a career. That hurts. That is very hard to do. It makes money for someone else. You're not really learning any other skills outside of that. We're speaking to the entrepreneurs who have the flexibility, maybe have survived that themselves. We got a lot of financial advisors on our team that have gone through that themselves. They've seen the way we do it, and they said, you know what, we're going to leave this world and we're going to go work for ourselves, hang our own shingle, and we're going to work with Charlie and Bobby and do it this way because it's different, more fun, and honestly, more invigorating, because whatever they are strong at, they can do and outsource the other side. Right. And that's the industry itself still cold calls and door knocks, in layman's terms, right? They still do that. And that's why people burn out and fail in this business and why it's so hard. We're doing something that is so good for clients. It should never be hard.
I think it's hard. People aren't honest up front. They say anyone can do it. Well, that's not true, right? Yeah. Anyone could learn to do it if they put in the work and they find it brings them energy. Yeah. But if it doesn't bring you energy, you won't continue to do the difficult things. Yeah. I think if you are looking at yourself and you go, what am I good at? Like, you could do all the parts, but first start with, what am I good at? Can I generate 5 appointments a week? Can I generate an appointment a day with a new prospective client who actually shows up for myself or someone else? Awesome. You've figured out marketing, the minimum marketing. Working 1 appointment a day doesn't take 8 hours, right? Yeah. Or you say, if someone gave me an appointment a day, can I prove that 2 or 3 of those people or families will buy? Yeah. Great. You can be in sales. It's hard to prove. That's hard to prove. And somebody's going to spend some money, to see if you improve that. Yep. If you can't do either one of those, like in your sleep, there's an easy answer. Have a job or whatever business you're currently running and learn one of them. Right? Have a job while you learn. And this is where warm market. I am a person that does not really believe you can start with your project 100 or you can start with your 100 people and never market for the rest of your life. Maybe you're out there. You're the professional referral cloner, and you can do so well that first group of 100 and the 20 or 30 that do business with you refer 20 or 30 every year. Now you're limited to 20 or 30 deals a year, but if you can get 30 people to send you 60 people next year, and then they send you 120, if you're that magic marketer, well, come work here and run the referral department. We'll pay you handsomely, Yeah. But that's not the norm. We saw 400, 500, 600 people trying to do that, and none of them were able to, including the owner who was teaching it. And the top people being trained one-on-one by the owner left the industry.
And we've seen it work, or at least I've seen it work only once, though, where you could live for multiple years on it. And that person was a former pro athlete. Their network was huge. Right. And they were like calling up their old agent and connecting through there. They got into financial services. They had an endless supply of name recognition and warm market, someone who would take their call simply because of who they were. So they basically went back to the corporate model of, I have a brand, come talk to me and learn what I'm doing now.
That is a brand. Like when you're a famous athlete, that's a brand. And it's if you're going through an agent, that's a strategic partnership where their trust, you're borrowing their trust. Yep. Going after your warm market when you're new to an industry, you don't have the brand. You're not famous. They just know you. Yep. And they know you as something else. They know you as someone who has no experience and is going to be experimenting on them. Right. Yes. But I think you're right. I think they're like, when you sit down with somebody and say, well, what are the assets that you have? Like in our coaching, when we coach somebody, what assets are you starting with? Lots of time, lots of money. Yep. Fame would be one of them. Yeah. Or someone owns,
You already have your own brand.
someone
in
owns
some
5
fashion.
houses,
Yeah.
5 houses that they Airbnb,
Mhm.
Okay, do we in your Airbnbs, do we have any advertisement, or is there any like place in your Airbnb where they press a button and it plays a little retirement planning video? Or is there a flyer? Or is it like, how do you take what you have, even if it's nothing? By the way, it's not possible to have nothing. If you're living, you have the world, you have your heartbeats, you have other humans, even if they're strangers. If you're living on the streets, by the way, you couldn't hear this if you have nothing, because you have to have a computer or a phone, right? But
yeah, if you can hear or see us, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of most.
you have everything you need.
You have everything you need.
No ears, no mouth. It's hard because I don't know how to communicate, right? But in theory, like, I love when Tony Robbins says it's a matter of resourcefulness. It's never a matter of resources. It's always a matter of resourcefulness, because you can start with nothing and just through conversation grow something. A.L. Williams was very famous for growing a company back in the day by having a short sales pitch where you walk up to people in the street and say, you don't need insurance, do you? Do you need any more insurance? Do you have insurance? Do you need any more insurance? Right? You could literally build a business that way. It wouldn't be a lot of fun. Doesn't work as well today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So cold calls and door knocking, there was a time that worked. Matter of fact, a lot of the Edward Jones advisors did door knocking. I have clients that I've taken from Edward Jones that their existing advisor, who had them in risk with a side of fees. By the way, when we get into sales, we're going to talk about language, and you want to learn some language. Like someone taught me in 2005 when I first started the industry, a wise attorney never asks a question they don't know the answer to. So when someone's on the stand and it's the attorney's client, they've already practiced these questions. They know how they're going to respond. You don't get to practice with your prospective client, but you want to formulate questions in a way that the way they're going to answer. You don't want any surprises, right? So you say things like, are you still using the same computer that you used in the late 90s, like your Pentium 2? No. Do you have better technology? Cool. Are you still using, the same phone? I don't know, phone or whatever. You come up, do you still have the same call?
Still got a BlackBerry.
Right. Then you just say, well, financial planning in the late 90s was basically spread things around, buy a bunch of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and hope it goes up. Are you still doing that in your portfolios, in your retirement plan? You just sit there and wait for the awkward silence on purpose. Let them sit in the discomfort for a while. It wakes the brain up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Job's not to make people comfortable. It's to help people do something different, and they only change when they're uncomfortable. And if you've noticed that about yourself, you only leave the relationship when you really hate it.
You'll hear me use this quote 1,000 times in our podcast, and it goes back to sales, entrepreneurship, everything else. Business or entrepreneurship is self-development disguised by profit. And I love this quote because as a salesperson, starting as a salesperson, then sales manager, then company owner, ultimately, you're only going to get as far as you learn the skills to do. Meaning, if you suck at marketing and you suck at sales, like you said a minute ago, get a job and learn that skill. And then you can go apply it, right? If you don't have any of those skills, soft skills in selling is very difficult. Yeah. Learning the language is like get you 80% of the way there, right? 75% of the way there, because you can speak to it. But setting yourself apart is different. Reacting to the client is different. I always say sales is a contact sport. Until you get out there and take your lumps and take your punches, you're not going to learn. But development of yourself is the most important thing you can do in any of these industries. But when you're in business for yourself, you have to constantly be improving.
Right. I'm laughing because it's like sales. You said sales is a contact sport. People are like, Charlie, you're really good with clients. Why don't you do more client appointments? Because sales is a contact sport, and I've been a quarterback for 17 years, getting blindsided, and my neck freaking hurts.
Too many concussions.
Too many concussions, baby. It's time for me to be on the sidelines and be the coach or the sportscaster, like Dennis Leary was for a while, right?
Yep.
So we went from cold calls. I mean, you're 100% right. Ultimately, you have to get out there and do it. A lot of people listening to the show are already in the industry. Like, what does target practice mean to someone who's not in the industry? They're like, I think it's a gun show, right?
Yeah.
Like talk about shooting things, which is cool also, but, and it is kind of like that. Aim at something. Target is actually a really wonderful word. It just happens to be what we call our paychecks, right? Target premium, right? Target is a really cool word. Like, what are you aiming at? And you're setting your goals, or for your marketing, who's the person you want to say yes? What do you want from this conversation? Having a target kind of for everything is pretty awesome. We can go pretty deep on that. But after the cold call world and the door knocking, again, there could be some stages in between, but dinner seminars have been dominant in this industry for a long time. I built my practice on dinner seminars and literally still do them every year. I have agents that pay me to do dinner seminars, and I don't talk to the clients. I show up, I speak, I leave, and they do everything else because they don't do this piece well. And I really, truly believe that that's how wonderful things are created, that assembly line model where different people do different pieces of it. I don't think it's how you should start your business because you have to pay them, right? Now, if you do it on a split model, somebody gets a piece for creating the lead, or you generate leads, you're splitting up the commissions, which is very, very normal in this industry. Everybody basically learns on split cases. Actually, all your 200 grand was made on split cases, right?
Yep. That's how I got going. Yep.
Me too. All my money last year was made on split cases too. So dinner seminars, all this is paying for attention. And once again, you better be good. Now, you can partner with someone who's good and learn, or do a piece of the workshop yourself, the introduction in the first 5 to 10 minutes, then watch someone do 45 minutes. Over time, you do more and more of this. But this is one of those areas where if the sales presentation is good, the person doing the appointments, you will make money.
Yes.
Do less people show up than used to? Yes. Out of every 10,000 mailers, is it a lower percentage? Did it used to be almost 2%? And now it's possibly below 1. I haven't checked recently because COVID was weird, right? Yeah. Yes, it is. That has all changed. It does not change that you can make $3 to $5 for every dollar you spent. You don't measure investments on what they used to be. You measure investments on, do they still make me money? Do I get more back than I put in? That's a money machine. Right? Give it $1, it gives you $2. I like that.
That's a business.
Interest. That's a business, right? Or it's self-development disguised by profit, right?
Disguised by profit.
I think it was Brian Buffini. I'm going back a long time, so the words I might not have the same words, but I think he says, don't be an entrepreneur for what it does for you. Be an entrepreneur for what it makes of you, for who you become.
Yep, same idea.
Being an entrepreneur, right? And life's not about money. You have everything you could possibly need to be happy right now in this moment with nothing else. You just need you and your existence. And you didn't even give that to yourself. If you're really being honest, you've been given for free, without any effort, everything you could possibly. You have everything you need to have all the emotions that you think money is going to give you. That doesn't mean we don't build things. Because you can be a blessing to other people with that money. You can buy things, you can experience things, you can make choices, which is really the definition of freedom, I believe, is choices, right? Having choice. Slavery, I don't know that much about slavery, but I believe that there's a piece of it that's like not being free, and I can't go do what I want to. I'm owned, right? Jobs can feel like that. We're in the business of liberating people from that. I hate to use the words, this is not the right word, right? That restriction of having to go to work and ask for permission to not be there, right?
Yeah. When you own your time, you're free. Whatever that looks like for you, and owning your time by providing enough income, whatever that looks like for you individually, is freedom. Exactly. On this podcast, and we've let people see a couple of these sample videos. The stories are already starting to come in, and we can't wait to hear your stories about how this has changed the way you look at things, self-development, all those things. But to Charlie's point, you have everything you need right now. It's just a matter of resourcefulness. And it's also a matter of putting maybe some of these skills that we're talking about to use. And now we're going to unpack and give you tactical things for each one of these in the future. But this is the general, hey, everything out there works. We're going to give you lessons learned, pros and cons, things like that. Split cases, online advertising, online seminars, like the evolution of these things have happened. And we're just going to update you on what we have seen, what has worked for us, where there are pitfalls, and maybe hopefully help you raise the game of your practice and improve your target, right? Not to keep throwing out our favorite tagline, but
no, keep throwing it out. It's such a good name, like earning more target premium by growing your practice, right? That's really the name of the game. And it should get easier every year. If you're doing it properly, it should get easier every year. The first year should be the hardest. By the way, that's true of like pretty much everything. It takes a lot of gas to get the airplane off the ground, and then there's less friction, and then going down, you have gravity working for you, starting the ball of the snowball or whatever, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. In this industry, it's every human that comes into your world and becomes a client, right? Or a customer, however you want to deal with it, however you want to name it. might change jobs in the future. They may have a mom or dad who dies. They might get married and have a need for life insurance. There's so many triggers. They're going to turn 59 and a half. They're going to turn 62. They're going to turn 65. They're going to turn 72. Those are all triggers for getting more business. Most people get raises over time. That's called inflation. Where do they invest that money? People sell homes and should not make large down payments. This is not an opinion.
Yeah.
In the world of math, there's a right and wrong. It is more dangerous to put money inside of a house than it is to keep it out. If you know where to keep it when it's out, if you're paying 3 to 4% using mortgage money and keeping your money making 6 to 7% in insurance products that are properly designed, no one should be making extra principal payments. Nobody should be making large down payments to lower their payment. All of that is baloney, fake, false, ridiculous.
And Charlie gets very motivated about that topic.
Go to renovatingretirement.com, or maybe we'll put them over at targetpractice.com. You can have my free books on that called 2 Ways to Be Debt Free. It is how I built my business. Was talking about home equity and what a scam it has been to say that you should pay off a house. It doesn't. Home equity fails every test of a good investment: liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax deductions. 100% of the humans you talk to about the equity in their home will agree with you if you know what to say from this 28-page book, and they will all have the same questions. How do I pay the higher mortgage? Where do I keep the money? When you answer those two questions, you can make $450,000 a year as a rookie, or whatever you want. So let's wrap this up.
And real quick, the last part of what you just said, everyone in your life will have situations that come up, everything else. We have an agent in our lives that we love, and he always says it's called timing and circumstance. Every person in your life has different timing and different circumstances depending on jobs, marriage, kids, all the things you just rattled off. Their timing and circumstances change, and therefore their openness to talking to you changes.
Right.
So if they have an opening, it's their timing and their circumstance that changes, and therefore you're always going to have someone to talk to. And that's going back to your point. There are people in your lives at all times that this applies to. Which
brings up the question, most agents aren't doing this, including me for many, many years, even before I had your help. And some of the people that we brought on, I wasn't doing this either. And that's not a fun way to live, knowing you should be doing something and aren't. It takes joy away from your life. Let me just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you purposefully sending people that they say no to? How are you purposefully getting no's monthly? What are you sending people that haven't become a client? What are you inviting people to on purpose to have them say no, so that when their life changes, you're already there doing it, or they remember that you were, or the next time you do it, now they say yes. If you do create a list of 100 people, and you invite them to an online 15-minute presentation, that you do yourself or you have someone else do, and 30 show up. The other 66, do you keep inviting them to that and tracking whether they came or not? Do you go back and invite the first group that didn't become clients of the 33, the 27 that didn't become clients? Do you invite them to another 15-minute presentation on a separate subject? How are you purposefully listen, we hear this. The waitress or the waiter says, I don't know what you call those people these days. That's politically correct. I don't care about politically correctness. Servant.
No, I said server, but thank you
server. Because if you put an R on it, it sounds so much better, right? So
touche.
If they say, would you like some coffee? And you say no, they're not hurt. Okay. So sales can be viewed like that if you have enough leads, but you just offer and offer and offer. How are you purposefully getting small no's, waiting for life to change? This is a guarantee, especially if you get into Buddhism and you look at the things never stay the same. I don't remember what they call that right now, but everything changes.
Yep.
Good times, bad times. There's an ebb and a flow. The sea goes in.
The only constant is change.
Impermanence, I think, is what they call it. The law of impermanence, right? And you embrace that. Well, that works for our benefit. The people that don't need or want what you have might need or want what you have, but you'd better be there with your shingle on purpose. Yep. And that shingle today isn't physical. It has to be check-in phone calls, things emailed, texts, invitations. Mail can still work. It just needs to be mail that they want to open. It has to be personalized. It probably needs to be a handwritten note or something like that. But that can be the sit-ups, to be honest, the things that you're doing on purpose to be there when the time comes. So there are time strategies, things that cost you your time. You have to do stuff. There's money strategies. The rough rule of thumb is if you're getting back $3 to $5 for every dollar you spend, that's good. You do want to know that you could take a couple times to get it right. And we're in an industry where if you're doing life insurance, it can take 2 or 3 months to get paid. Annuity can be quicker, but let's say it's life insurance. If you fail 3 times and it takes 3 months to get paid, that's 9 months and you're out a lot of money. So you want to be very, very careful, or partner with people that are already doing something that works and you bring the money and you learn it from them, whatever it is. Don't just buy stuff because it's advertised and see if it works. I can't tell you how many agents I know that burn through 10, 12, 15, $20,000 trying something. So it's either time or money. Time strategies. Let's just do short lists here, and then we're gonna do whole episodes on these and everything. But
we're clearly talkers, but we're gonna figure out our rhythm with these podcasts.
No, forget it. We're in the beginning. We're like, let's make them each 20 minutes. Not 2 hours. That's fine. It's just content is content. People either like it or they don't. It's fine. If you don't like it, if you want a 20-minute podcast, listen to a third of it, and then listen to the other half on the other third on the way home, and then tomorrow morning. So every podcast takes you 3 trips back and forth to work or whatever.
There you go.
So time strategies, obviously cold calling, obviously working your warm market, inviting, pretty much everything related to people you know is going to be a time strategy. Can you do a grand opening? Can you throw wine and cheese parties? Can you have events? Yes, you can spend money and time, but time is going to be going online and interacting with people, joining groups, right? Answering questions on Quora, whatever, like going out and using your words. I guess this is a good way to say it, using your words, typing things, saying things, calling people, sending emails, inviting on LinkedIn or Facebook, connecting. You're not paying anyone to do it for you. You're doing the connecting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's all sales is. In the beginning, it's just you're not the answers. You're not the smartest person in the room. You're the door to the room.
Yes.
I want to bring you and introduce you to Charlie. You know, that's what I did for my first year in the business, right? And your leads came to me. We did split cases. My leads came to us. We did split cases. Like, that's how you get going, and you become the door and the connector. Now, to your point earlier, maybe that's not your strongest suit, in which case, Quora, putting content out, basically letting it be known to the people in your world, whether it's in person or online, that this is who you are. And this is not a beginner podcast, but this is what I went through, right? And so if you're not putting out marketing all the time and you already have a big practice, this will only make it better for you, right? If you're getting going, you have more time or more money, depending on who you are, and you can leverage what your skills are. And that's what we're going to talk through in the coming weeks and months. And ultimately, any of these practices can be put to use in your world, whether you're scaling an existing multi-million-dollar business or you're just getting going, getting your license and getting excited. That's my voice. You're hearing the new guy in the industry, right? But ultimately, if you're anywhere on that spectrum, you're going to come away from this conversation and all of our subsequent ones with knowledge, something you can apply.
And marketers should be making $100,000 a year. Like, if you're setting up one appointment a week for a good salesman, good salesperson, one appointment a week, that's 50, 52 a year, whatever, you should be making $100,000 on your piece. If that's all you do is set an appointment and show up and learn from them. If you're the good closer, you're the person who's good, the good relator, the good person who's good at building rapport and getting the yes and winning the family, you know, having an appointment a day. Maybe you have 5 marketers that are feeding you an appointment a day. You're good at the closing, like the kind of people that I feed business to. They should easily be making $250,000 to $500,000 a year without a team. A team, if you're training other people, you're duplicating yourself and you're part of that management and the recruiting or whatever it is, sure, there's you can be making millions. That's fine. We know people who are doing it, but it should be $100,000 to $500,000 depending on where you fall. Don't be in sales or marketing if you can't get one person a week to look at something that doesn't cost any money that might help them. And don't be in sales if you can't get 1 out of 5 people you meet to say yes. And 1 out of 5 for a year, you're easily making $250,000 to $500,000 in the world. And this is in a world where they don't have to spend $1. The product has no cost. You're moving money from inferior to superior, and you want to learn how to talk about that. I mean, but I'm getting into the next show, but sales is so freaking exciting, so exciting to say to people, like, let's look at what you have and what you could have and just pick which one you like more. Yep. It's such a blessing to have been in the mortgage industry in a commoditized sale. Apples to apples. You have 5%, rates are at 3.5. Do you want the lower payment or not? It costs you 13 signatures in about a month. You might hate every second of it, but it sucks for a month. And then you reap the benefits for as long as you can. You reap the benefits for 30 years, unless I call you and say there's more benefits. Let's do it again. When you learn how to really compare, good news or goodnews.com, let's look at what you've got. It's either perfect or it's not. If it's perfect, I'm going to pat you on the back. Great job. If it's not, I'm going to fix it for you, and we're not going to charge you a fee. When you learn how to sell like that and you can't close 1 out of 5, you're not a bad human being. You've discovered you shouldn't be in sales, and you need to move into a different industry or in a different part of this industry. Maybe you're not a closer. Maybe you're a nurturer. Maybe you're not an evangelist. Maybe you're a pastor, right? You're a shepherd. Move you into the after unit where you get paid to care for these beautiful families until they raise their hand and say, I just got an inheritance. I just changed jobs. I have more money. I hate my advisor now. I got a divorce.
Just got a grandkid.
You bring them back into the top of the funnel, into that's part of marketing. Customer service is part of marketing. It's this circle of life. I need Elton John, right? It just keeps going around, right? So I like sales. I don't know, why am I in the marketing department? Well, sales crushed me. I'm the quarterback with a broken neck. Sorry. Money strategies would be today. Money strategies. Yes, dinner seminars still work. Now we have webinars without dinner. You'd better be good or partner with somebody who's good. If you're not even getting that connection and giving them a steak, in the restaurant, the food is literally giving them chemicals that make them feel good. And the law of reciprocation, you've given a gift and they feel obligated at a soul level, which is how we've discovered that humans are, right? At a soul level, they feel like there's an obligation. You don't get that on a webinar. You've given nothing. Everyone gives information. You don't look different, right? But nothing has changed. That if you're good, the person you're partnered with is really good, and you go, I don't know, like, here's what you've got. Let's look at what you've got and what you could have. And if it's better, we'll switch you. And if it's not, we'll leave you alone. You know what I mean? Then you will get leads. You will get raised hands. Okay. Most investing strategies today are going to be, how do you get their name in here? Get them on a webinar, get them to ask for the report. We do Facebook advertising to generate our leads. We do webinars where we fill those webinars. I buy annuity leads because I know how to close those. I can take someone shopping for an annuity and go, let me give you the dirt on annuities. Most of them suck. And there's a few that are magical. Like, most musicians don't make money. The Jonas Brothers are doing okay. Drake did pretty well. You know what I mean? This new Doja Cat, whatever that means, she's got COVID, but she's doing okay when she's not sick. You know what I mean? Like, you just sing about your butt and you're going to be fine in the industry. You know,
I love it. I love it when you name drop modern musicians.
I know, you're like, none of those people are still around. I'm like, James Taylor's doing all right, and the Beatles are doing well. They're like, most of them are doing great. What's wrong with you? Yeah, like Charlie's not old. Hello. But most investing strategies, you probably don't want to start there. We do take some very skilled online marketers and sometimes say, why don't you market our stuff? That's fine. Mm-hmm. Take what you already do and sell this big thing. There's my alarm that says we need to shut up. We do that, right? But that's probably not where most people should start. Most people should start with, like, if you made $100,000, let's easily get you to 200. That's easy. If you're making 100, getting you to 200 is like easy. If you made 50, getting you 100 is easy. If you've never made any money, we want to try some things, give you other techniques to discover which part of this business you should be in, right? Or you can do that on your own, doesn't matter. But it may not be as easy because you haven't proven that it works for you yet. But you do want to try some different things because you don't want to keep doing the same thing if it's not even made you $50,000 a year. And
if you're on the other end of the spectrum where you have an agency, essentially a large team, and you're making $5 million a year, but you've never done what we do in the merit planning or home equity planning, which is some of our niches, that adding that to your existing market will blow up in a good way, will blow up your income. So that is, no matter who you are on the spectrum, this will add value, and it will certainly add money to your pockets, really, bottom line.
And if you've never had another objective agent go through your book of existing clients looking for business, if you've never had someone who, I don't know what it is about our existing books of business, like a coder can't see their own mistakes. Someone can look over the shoulder and be like, there it is, right?
Yep.
Spouses do this all the time. It's incredibly annoying, right? But you don't see clearly. I don't see clearly. I have someone else work my book of business. If you've never had someone else come in and say, can you make money on me? Can you go into my mine where I found all the gold and see if there's more, or you come out and say, I found diamonds, right?
Yeah.
If you've never done, again, good news or goodnews.com, they come back and say, you're perfect, man. You've done everything possible. No one can be improved. That's not the norm. The norm we see is somebody finds 10, 12 cases and you make $100,000 from people that already trust you.
That's it.
Aren't we seeing that? Aren't we seeing that?
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely. You handed me your book of business, said go through it, and we have now positioned 2022 for just that to be another 6-figure revenue stream.
One case was $67,000. One client, $67,000 because I discovered the annuity was 10 years old. It doesn't have increasing income. There's no penalties. We can roll it to an increasing income annuity because she's 57. So she still has I think she's still planning to work for another 8 years.
Yeah.
And so I basically doubled her income and gave her increases if the market ever goes up or down. And so that's a $67,000 that I wouldn't have found on my own, or wouldn't have found without this philosophy of let's review things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in the next couple of podcasts, we're going to be going through those. So we're going to end this today, but hopefully you've been able to take away some nuggets from how we view this industry. We're going to go through in the next podcast, like a few others about what just blew my mind about how the financial services world works. And you've probably had the same questions. And as Charlie and I have built our own thing and what's going on our side, we're going to show you so many things that work. And we get very passionate about sales. Charlie is clearly a master of language. I am good at growing and enabling sales teams, not just people, but sales teams to grow. And so creating that structure, we can talk to both ends of that spectrum. And that's where we'll probably go long again, but we're going to love every minute.
We'll go along every time. So if anybody wants to talk to us, either Bobby or myself, reach out to Bobby at targetpractice.com. Bobby's the normal way, BOBBY, right? Bobby at targetpractice.com. And just reach out. Tell us about your business. If you're trapped in a captive agent model where you have to sell your company's stuff, that's difficult. If you want to know how to liberate yourself and get free and be independent, if your business isn't growing like you want to, if you're not sure which part of the business you should be in, if you have a huge book of business but want to make twice as much, if you just want to talk, reach out, Bobby at targetpractice.com, and then we will talk to you because this is what we do. We like to.
This is what we do. All right. Next time.
Bye now.